He was just a quiet waiter, a single dad who kept his head down, saved tips in a jar, and hurried home before his daughter fell asleep. No one knew he once lived a life of danger. No one knew what he was capable of. But the night four men attacked the billionaire CEO in the corner booth, every secret he buried came rushing back. And what he did next would change all their lives forever. There are people who walk into a room and command it without saying a word. Daniel Reyes was not one of them. He moved quietly through the Galaxy Crown restaurant with a humility that almost made him invisible, polite smile, sleeves rolled up, tired eyes that carried the weight of raising a 7-year-old daughter alone. His co-workers respected him, but no one asked too many questions. They knew he never talked about his past unless it involved his daughter, Lily. She was the center of his world, his reason for breathing, his motivation to grind through double shifts just to afford her school books and that silly pink backpack she begged for. Tonight, the restaurant buzzed louder than usual. Billionaire CEO Adrian Hale, the man whose face lived on magazine covers and whose companies practically ran the city, sat quietly in the private corner booth. Reserved. Alone. No bodyguards in sight, which shocked everyone because Adrian Hale was known as a fortress. Daniel was assigned to his table. He could feel the tension the moment he walked near. Adrian's eyes were sharp, scanning the room like he expected something to happen. Daniel tried to ignore it. His only job was to keep his distance, take his order, and be polite. But when he placed the CEO's drink on the table, Adrian surprised him. "You move like someone trained," he said without looking up. Daniel froze. "Not again. Not this." He forced a smile and replied, "Just tired feet, sir." Adrian chuckled softly but studied him like he could see right through the lie. Daniel quickly left the table, feeling a shiver crawl up his spine. He'd built an entire life avoiding the past where he wasn't a waiter, but something far darker, far more dangerous. For years, he'd lived under a new name, in a quiet neighborhood, trying to forget the choices that forced him into hiding. Tonight, for the first time in years, he felt that old world breathing down his neck. Meanwhile, the restaurant dimmed as the evening crowd poured in. Daniel heard Lily's voice in his mind, "Daddy, don't be late tonight. I made something for you." He smiled to himself. That was his anchor. No matter what happened, he would make it home to her. But as the kitchen doors swung open and he stepped into the aisle, he noticed something wrong. 4 men entered the restaurant, but not like customers. Their eyes scanned the room with calculated precision. One touched his ear, another kept his hand inside his jacket. They weren't here to eat. They were here for Adrian Hale. Daniel's heart rate spiked. He recognized the walk, the posture, the predatory stillness. Men like that didn't come for conversation, they came for cleanup. He whispered under his breath, "Not tonight, please." But fate wasn't on his side. The moment the men moved toward the CEO's booth, Daniel felt his past slam into him like a train. He should have run. He should have grabbed his bag and disappeared just like before. But then he remembered the one thing that always kept him grounded. Lily. And he whispered to himself, she needs her dad alive, not hiding. Just as the first man reached for something inside his coat, Daniel stepped forward, a quiet waiter who knew he could no longer stay invisible. The restaurant lighting flickered slightly, but Daniel didn't notice, every sense sharpened, every instinct awakened. It was like a switch inside him flipped. He didn't walk toward the men, he glided, each step silent, precise. To the guests, he was just a waiter approaching with a tray. To the 4 men, he was nobody. To Daniel, this was the moment he feared would come, the day he would be forced to become who he once was. One of the attackers made the first move, reaching into his coat, but Daniel moved faster, impossibly fast, knocking the man's wrist with the corner of his metal tray. A crack echoed. The gun clattered to the floor under a table. Gasps burst across the restaurant. "What the?" another man growled, but Daniel was already spinning behind him, hooking the attacker's leg and dropping him with a silent, efficient strike. Adrian Hale stood up from his booth, stunned. "Who are you?" he demanded, but Daniel ignored him. He grabbed a fork from a nearby table, flipping it in his hand like a weapon, his old training taking control. The third man lunged forward, but Daniel's reflexes were sharper. He shoved him against the wall with a calculated elbow, making him collapse to his knees. The fourth attacker realized too late that this was no ordinary waiter. He pulled a knife and rushed Daniel with a roar. Daniel exhaled slowly, almost sadly, before sweeping a wine bottle into the man's arm, forcing him to drop the blade. Within seconds, all four men were on the ground, groaning, defeated, immobilized. Silence filled the restaurant. Every pair of eyes stared at Daniel like he had transformed into a different person entirely. Adrian approached slowly, breathing hard. "That wasn't just self-defense," he said. "That was, professional." Daniel swallowed hard. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the memories he tried so hard to bury. "I don't do that life anymore," Daniel said quietly. "I'm just a dad trying to make it home." Adrian studied him with new respect. Those men weren't amateurs. Someone sent them with a message. "You saved my life." Daniel shook his head. "No, sir. I protected my workplace, that's all." But deep down, he knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Police arrived minutes later, and while chaos unfolded around them, Adrian pulled Daniel aside. "I need to know your name," he said firmly. Daniel hesitated. "It's Daniel Reyes." "No," Adrian replied with an unsettling certainty. "Your real name." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't heard his real name in years. Not since the night everything went wrong. But before he could answer, his phone buzzed. It was Lily's number. His heart squeezed painfully. He excused himself, stepping into a quiet corner as he answered. "Daddy," her soft voice said. "Are you coming home?" I waited with my drawing. His eyes burned. His voice cracked. "I'm on my way, sweetheart." And in that moment, Daniel made a silent promise: no matter what danger was coming, no matter who sent those men, he would protect his daughter. He would protect this new life. Even if it meant facing the past he'd been running from. As he hung up the phone, Adrian approached him again. "Daniel. I need your help. And something tells me you need mine." Daniel looked at the billionaire, a man with power, enemies, and secrets, and realized the night's events were only the beginning. The past had found him again. But this time, he wasn't running. This time, he had something worth fighting for.